Shalom, giving all the praises, honor, and glory to our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rachakodash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone who rule and teach well. Peace and safety and much blessings to all the Akim that's pushing this truth out the four corners of the earth, and our truth is sincerity and in diligence, Shalom. And as you can see the title, well, this is from the news outlet, The People's Voice, okay? And as you can see, the title says, Trump orders Pentagon to prepare for a mass conscription as ground troops mobilize for Iran's invasion. So that means conscription means like an enrollment, an enlistment. And what a mass enlistment into what? The army, man. So straight up letting you know right now that it's going to be a military draft. You know, brothers have done videos on this. You know, I know I did a video on this in probably 2022 or something like that. But we've been saying this. We've been saying this, that it's going to be a military draft. And it's going to draft women. It's going to draft men, young men, you know, and because of this, you know, war that's going on. And that's exactly what the times that we're in. We're in a time of war. We're not in a time of peace. We're in a time of war because there's a transitioning of powers that's about to happen, and Esau, Edom knows it, okay? The elites of this world knows it, all right? And that's what's really going on here. You know, the elite is pulling the strings behind the scenes, but the Lord is controlling the elites, okay? So look what it says. It says Trump orders Pentagon to prepare for mass conscription as ground troops mobilize for Iran's invasion. Now, when I have some clips that I'm not going to play that I did before this dude got in office, he was saying how he's going to end the war in one day, how he's going to do all these different things, but he lied, bro. You know, he's been lying since he do a speech about the snake, you know, and he's telling you who he is, man. He's that cruel Lord that's being spoke about in Isaiah the 19th chapter. All right, so this same man right here, this orange devil, this red devil right here, he's about to get ready. Well, he's pushing out a mass conscription, which is a draft. Okay, that's what's going on here, man. And all of this started with the small hats, man. Back in October, maybe I think it was a year ago or 2 years ago when this happened. You know, all of this started with the small hats, man. That's what the scripture says in Jeremiah, right? Jeremiah 49. This is Jeremiah 49 and 20. It says, therefore hear the counsel of Yahweh, right? The counsel of the Lord comes from the prophets, all right? That he taken against Edom. Edom is the so-called white man, the so-called white race. Esau is the father of the so-called white race. That is who is in power right now, okay? Just like you had the Egyptians in power, the Assyrians in power, the Babylonians, Medo-Persians, the Greeks, the Romans. Now you got the Americans that's in power, which happen to be Edomites, right? Because America, you know, has the biggest influence on the whole world, okay? And his purposes, that he had purpose against the inhabitants of Teman going into Germany, right, which are Edomites. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make the habitation desolate with them. So when it says the least of the flock, the least of Esau, Edom, right, which are these small, tiny tops that's in the land right now, the land being, you know, Jerusalem, Israel, right? That's the least of the flock, because who's dwelling in that land right now? Esau, Edom. So because of them, all this war on the planet Earth, these rumors of war, you know, these plagues on the planet Earth is happening, okay? So when it says the least of the flock, these Amalekites, which are Edomites, these Amalekites, has stirred up the militaries of the world, Okay, so now you got different people that's gonna be picking different sides here, man. You know, but at the end of it all, you know, the the beast shall hate the whore. Okay, and Israel is gonna get wiped off the face of the earth, but it's gonna be rebuilt. Okay, so let's just get to the article. Matter of fact, let me read this before we get to the article. This is Second Ezra 9:1. It says, "He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and seest thou, and when thou seest parts of signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made." So we're measuring the times diligently. So the fact that the war is getting is being so escalated, we understand that there's an economical collapse coming, and that in the MOTB is close, very very close, man. So if we're measuring the times diligently, and we seeing through how prophecy is playing out, the MOTB, which is that C hip, is right around the corner, right? Probably, cutting the corner, the door. It's here, right? So the Lord is getting ready to visit the earth which he made via chariots, plagues, and ultimately Yahushua. Okay? So that's why we hearing wars and rumors of wars and all these different things, So let's get to the article. It says, Trump administration is quietly preparing for a massive escalation that goes far beyond the airstrikes we've seen over the past 2 weeks. And you got Jake out here just bullshitting. You got Jake out here worried about everything else except what's happening. The reason why, because these people here in America is so comfortable because they've been lost in the sauce, marinating in Babylon juice, and just sitting here looking at the government like they just gonna fix things. But the government is, this administration is getting things real hot, man, to bring forth an agenda that's been in the works for hundreds of years, man. Multiple sources confirm that the president has ordered the Pentagon to draw up plans for a national military draft within 3 weeks as ground troops begin massing for a potential invasion of Iran. So right there you have it, letting you know it will be a draft. And history tells us anytime there's war, it's always a draft, right? This is 1 Samuel's, 14. Okay, read that in the NLT. So this history tells us this. So it ain't no surprise, man. This is 1 Samuel 14 and 30. I just had it. Wait. Oh man, thought I just had that. Let's see. I know I'm not tripping. Alright, I guess I am tripping. Alright, so 52. Here it is. 1 Samuel 14 and 52. The Israelites fought constantly with the Philistines throughout Saul's lifetime. So whenever Saul observed a young man who was brave and strong, he drafted him into his military. And that's exactly what's going to happen here, man. They've been fighting, going back and forth with Iran, right? Having all these different proxy wars. Hey, man, a military draft is coming. That's what history tells us. It says, While corporate media parrots Trump's claim of good talks and diplomatic progress, the reality on the ground tells us a different story. Israel's war machine is grinding into gear and is coming for America's youth, and that's what y'all not understanding. You get these nigga women and these simpleton ass men, they son or they daughter join the military, and they, oh, I'm proud of you, man. Your dumb ass don't understand that your daughter and your son is gonna meet Yahweh, and Yahweh is gonna ice them, man, if they make it that far. But all you people that's joining the military right now, you are going to your unaliving, man. In the draft, man. And you know that people just join the military for the benefits, because America been so is sitting as a lady. America has just been comfortable, chillaxing, no disaster like that, no real enemies coming up trying to do anything to the land and all these different things. You ain't seen no chaos out here, so they're like, man, yeah, I'm gonna join the military. Ain't got no kids and all this XYZ. They gonna join the military for the benefits, to travel the world. Not understanding that you've been sold a lie, that you're going to be in this military and they're going to send your ass overseas, and you think just because you went through fucking basic training in MEPS that your ass is going to be able to hold your own out there, man. You have a false sense of reality. The military today is a joke, man. You got alphabet boys, man, doing line dances, man. I even seen a clip one time where you had this Jake beating the shit out of his superior, man. So the military is a joke, man. On July the 24th, Trump announced he was pausing strikes on Iran to give diplomacy a chance. But here's what they are not telling you. This pause is merely tactical regrouping while the Pentagon prepared for the big one and a full-scale ground invasion. Now look, I forgot to download this, but I'm about to do this right now because this is some
35 fighter,
some good stuff. Where is that, man? I had it earlier, but I lost it. I couldn't download it because I was at work. Oh, there it is right there.
The Iranians want the United States to
So
take
look,
some
I'm
of
gonna
these
just,
territories.
matter of fact,
They want them to come in.
let me see. All right, hold
That's
on.
where the war starts.
Give me a second. So, according to this source right here, Iran wants this. They at first, they don't want war, but if it's gonna be war, this is part of the strategical plan, right? So let me do this. Damn, this motherfucker 7 minutes long. Alright, man. Let's see. Check this out. So we just said we just read when it says a full-scale ground invasion, right? Check this out.
The Iranians want the United States to take some of these territories. They want them to come in. That's where the war starts. They're not going to keep them out. They want their forces to come on Iranian territory, and then those capabilities that Iran has hidden for decades and has been preparing for decades against the Americans, they'll begin using them. They'll begin striking the American troops. They'll begin to hammer them, counter strikes, whether it's on islands or whether it's on the mainland. They'll make them miserable. Ultimately, the Americans are going to have to leave. We discussed this at the very beginning of the war, almost at the beginning. I don't know when was our first conversation after the war began. I said that the Americans want this to be a short war And the Iranians want this to be a long war. Remember, during the 39 days of fighting initially, the Americans, they said unconditional surrender. They thought it'd be over in a couple of days. Many of Iran's friends thought it would be over in a few days. The Iranians were planning this for decades. The Iranians were planning for a long war. So after a few days, when the Americans saw things were going downhill, they kept sending messages. The Iranians ignored it. Until Trump accepted the Iranian 10-point plan, which was a humiliation for him. And people attacked him, and then ultimately his folks went and said, no, we threw it in the bin. But he accepted it. He tweeted it. So then came the ceasefire. The longer it lasts, Trump is bringing down the global economy. Time is not on his side. So if they carry out an assault, let them take the island. Like, what difference does it make to us? There'll probably be some defenses. Then they'll allow them to take territory over wherever. I don't know the military plans, but the plan is to fight them on the ground, not to prevent them from getting there. The Americans can bomb a few places, take territory, but then they have to keep that territory. In the counterattacks that can last weeks and months, then the Americans will have to stay. Because if they leave, they're humiliated. So they have to stay, so the Iranians can keep hitting them. So, I mean, these generals, or former generals of the United States, they are fools. But these are political appointees, as you know. To become a general in the United States, you have to be obedient to the military-industrial complex. Why? Because after they retire, they want to get on the board of all these different companies.
Right. So that's what he's saying. He said he ain't gonna prevent them from coming in. He wants you to come in. So your sons and daughters are gonna go over to goddamn Iran, wherever they send them. And we already know that World War III gonna take place in the Levant region. So, and they're going to be what? Unalive, man. Just the other day, it was confirmed that Tehran confirms 600 U.S. troops died unalive in the past 13 days. Just in 13 days. They ain't telling you that. They tried to fake the numbers 14 to 18, but shit, they told the truth. And you remember, in order for you to get real news and what's really going on in America, you got to look at alternative news. You got to look at the news in a different country, because they're going to tell you the truth. You know what I mean? America going to lie to your ass, So it was 600 soldiers that was unalive, man, in 13 days, So these niggas been lying, man. And that's in the scriptures. Look. 2nd Ezra 16, all right? 2nd Ezra 16 and 33. The virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Because they're going to get their ass drafted. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. In the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. In the wars, man, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen right here, man. Okay? Because so you got Iran. Matter of fact, let's just go back to the article. Let me read that. I ain't gonna. Trump himself admitted that the clock is ticking. On an interview with Axios, he declared not much time. Either it goes fast or not at all. This isn't language of peace, it's an ultimatum, which it is. That's what it sounds like. It's either it go fast or not at all. And that's what old boy just said. Time is not on this side, man. Trump admit that the clock is ticking. The Pentagon is reportedly considering multiple ground operation scenarios, including a staggering plan to send thousands of U.S. troops deep into Iran meat grinder on behalf of Israel. See, and all this is going on because of the least of the flock, man. See, Donald Trump is being controlled, bruh. He's being controlled chiefly by the elites. He ain't doing nothing on his own. He's being instructed what to do. Says allegedly the troops will be tasked with seizing enriched uranium from underground nuclear facilities. According to the New York Post, the White House is actively studying the commando-style mission where elite forces, including Navy SEALs, will storm Iran's nuclear sites, dismantle mines, and physically extract stockpiles of enriched material. Military analysts are calling the plan absurd and potential massacre waiting to happen, because that's exactly what's happening, because that's what the dude just said, man. You know, from the other side of the bar, we want y'all to come in, because then we gotta bust your ass. And once we bust your ass, busting your ass, because what the scripture says in Joel, right? Joel 3, right? This is Joel 3 and 9. KJV. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. That's exactly what you're saying. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. This is what the least of the flock shall draw them up. So all the militaries and generals and superpowers of the world is drawing near to that region, man. The Lord said He's going to remove the northern army, right? Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears, and let the weak say, I am strong. So throughout the course of time, this is what has happened with Iran. Iran is now claiming, man, we'll take on America. We're not scared of y'all. We got shit that y'all don't know about. This is what they saying, man. We dare you to come up in here, because then we're gonna hit you, and if you leave, you're gonna be humiliated, and you're not gonna look like the superpower that you claim to be. So you gotta stay. So it's gonna be a whole bunch of casualties waiting to happen, like he said, right? Because you go look up what's going on in Iran, they are chanting, against America, man. They don't care about shit walking over here. But this is what the Lord, has prescribed to be, and it's not it came out where the U.S. and Israel armies has joined forces now, man. Why is that? Because we in a time of war, and it's gonna be a military draft, man. Right? The economics notes that while the ground invasion seems unlikely due to immense risk, the fact that U.S. officials are openly discussing it signals a terrifying shift in war aims. The magazine outlined 3 potential escalation paths: expand attacks on Iranian infrastructure, strikes on nuclear facilities, a full-scale ground invasion. The real story behind you see that there? Look at that. I didn't even read this part. It says Trump is trying to project strength, telling reporters abroad, Air Force Ones, that we have a lot of ammunition and more than we could ever use. But leaked reports from inside the administration tells a different story. So this nigga lying. The Pentagon top brass is deeply worried. General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, warned Trump at a White House meeting that ammunition stockpiles are dangerously depleted. You see? Because they've been funding Ukraine this whole damn time, man. You see? Especially critical air defense interceptors that protects U.S. forces in the region, right? Vice President Vance also voiced serious concerns about the further escalation. You see? Hey, listen. They shaking in their boots over there, man. The numbers don't lie. Since July 4th, U.S. service members have been killed unalived, 207 wounded in the current conflict. The total casualty count since Iran war began stands at 642 with 18. Oh, that's lying. That's cap. You see? They just said 600 people were smoked. These aren't figures of winning campaigns. They are grim arithmetic of a quagmire. Let's see. Yada, yada, yada. Oh, look, bam. Here's what the war hawks in Washington refuse to acknowledge. Iran is not weak. Why? Because the weak is now saying, I am strong. We just read that. We just read that. Come up. Let the weak say, I am strong. Right? Isolated nation, they imagine. Iranian military sources confirm armed forces have prepared for every scenario, including ground invasion. We have prepared multiple response scenarios. A military source told Sputnik, especially if the American government makes the mistake of launching ground invasion. So they've been waiting on this. Iran has already demonstrated its capacity to strike back. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has claimed attacks on U.S. facilities in Jordan and Kuwait. The Straits of Hormuz remains effectively closed, with Iranian forces turning away or disabling multiple ships attempting to pass through. Let's be clear about what ground invasion means. Thousands of American soldiers and countless Iranians, many of them civilians, will be unalived. Okay? That's good on that, man. So that's what's going on, man. It's going to be an invasion. Right? And that's what it says, right? That's what we're reading. Now we'll see, But he's telling you, listen, man, prepare for a mass draft, man. That's the point. He's ready to draft. LaMarcuses and Shaquitas and Devontre. He's ready to get you niggas in these boots, and your ass get knocked off, man, because they don't care about your ass, man. Now, I'm going to play this, just because I'm just going to go over it a little bit. See, now this dude right here, been not a Jew. Now he's claiming Turkey, is an enemy, man. Right? But hold up. Turkey is a NATO member. And Turkey is backed by, its allies. Right? And Ben not a Jew is now, he's telling, Turkey is not, coming up against Turkey. See, Turkey is a key player in all of this, man. According to the book of Ezekiel 38. You see? And these things right here is going to usher in when Turkey is going to side with Russia. You see? Because Ben not a Jew, right? They can, they running Donald Trump. Tell them, look, man, we going up, like Turkey is the new Iran. So they going to come up against Turkey, and America going to have to follow suit. And then the beast going to hate the whore. Because then they're going to all be enemies. And then those that were in confederacy with thee, have turned their back, Oh, Salakia. That's probably not what it says. So, just to be perfect, I'll go. Okay. This is Obadiah 7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to thy border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid the womb under thee. There is none understanding in him. So these are the nations, and I'm speaking on Turkey right now. They're gonna what? They're gonna turn on you, man, right? And they're gonna hit you, with firepower, military personnel, weaponry. That's what's gonna happen here. Because thus says the Lord. Where else is that? Oh, right. So here we are. It's going down.
President Trump is in Turkey right now. He said this morning he will consider selling F-35 fighter jets to Turkey, which is a reversal of a ban he put in place. You said yesterday that would, quote, upset the power balance in the...
So why is the reversal of the ban put in place taking place? Why is he reversing the ban that he put on? Why is he reversing it, man? See? Because he's being told to.
Middle East. Have you made that clear to President Trump?
Yes, I have. Actually, spoke to him several times about it, and I think that everybody understands that, notwithstanding the personal friendship that President Trump has with Erdogan, it doesn't make Turkey a friendly or a friendly state to the United States. To the contrary, it's a regime that's infected with the Muslim Brotherhood, which hates the United States. He harbors Hamas, the Hamas terrorists. He supports them. He finances them. He's thrown his opponents in jail, all of them. He throws more journalists in jail than anyone can understand. So he's not exactly a model ally of the United States. But even worse than that, he threatens Greece, a NATO ally. He occupies half of Cyprus, another NATO country. And the most important thing, and I put it right on the table, he threatens to destroy my country, the one and only Jewish state.
The president said this morning that they are great friends, and not just the two of them, the countries of the United States and Turkey, and that Turkey is perhaps a better ally than other so-called allies. So he is considering giving the country these planes, F-35s.
Well, as I said, it would destroy the power balance in the Middle East because Turkey, I think, has aggressive aspirations. I mean, they openly say that. They want to restore the Ottoman Empire. This is not a force for peace and stability. And if you give, this kind of radical regime that admittedly smiles to America when it is necessary, or smiles to the president of the United States when it's necessary, when you give them that power, you're going to see aggression in its wake. I wouldn't do that.
President.
See, this dude is now he over here making claims about Turkey, man. We can see through the spirit that, hey, bro, this thing is happening. You know? Shit. Turkey is a key player, man. Read Ezekiel the 38th chapter. Check this out.
A new Turkish threat is emerging. I want to be very clear. Turkey and Qatar have gained influence in Syria, are seeking influence elsewhere and everywhere throughout the region. And from here, I warn, Turkey is the new Iran. Erdogan is sophisticated, dangerous, and he seeks to encircle Israel. And while some senior Israelis were on Qatar's payroll, Qatar and Turkey are nourishing the Islamic Brotherhood monster that is growing and eventually might become as dangerous as the one created by Iran. Turkey and Qatar are gaining influence not only in Syria, but also in Gaza, through the front door, and everywhere, and trying to create a new choke ring. Turkey is trying to flip Saudi Arabia against us and establish a hostile Sunni axis with nuclear Pakistan.
So, you know what I'm saying? Don't forget about the dragons of Arabia and the Carmanians coming together, man. You know? So, look, you see what he just said, though? He said Turkey is the new Iran, man. All right? So, the sound of battle is in the land. And it's going to be a military draft. All right? So, you know, I'm not going to drag this out longer than what it is, man. So, it's going to be a military draft, bro. You know, going to war, it will be a military draft. So, you know, you've been warned. The prophet's been telling you, man. So, it is what it is, man. Lord willing, you are edified. Shalom.